I'm not very happy. Yes, you can get one of those. Nope. There you go. And so it really does what? No, they're all gone. The lollipops are all gone. But you can have that cookie right there. Don't worry, she's already had breakfast, folks. She's had eggs and bacon and all the things. So, um, right, the transition team is who gets to dictate the parameters because it's being requested. And so, yeah. So remember, that's what Christopher Ray was saying when he was when he was spoken to, and he was questioned by Senator Whitehouse on the Senate floor. Remember, and he was asking, "Is it true that you were only able to ask a specific number of questions, address specific issues, and talk to specific persons, as outlined by the Trump administration at the time?" And Senator Ray and FBI Director Ray was saying, well, whoever the requesting agency is, that's who gets to dictate the parameters of the background investigation. Yes. Well, you can see if he wants to play with you. He might not. Okay. And so, oh, thanks. So you're back in the old podcast, right? What's up, Facebook, YouTube people? Make sure that you speak so that I know that you are in the room. And it's very ridiculous, Debbie, right? It's very ridiculous. And I find, like I said, I find myself being irritated today because I'm sitting up and I'm like, okay, so is history going to repeat itself? And what can we do about it? Right? And that is why the subject is do not submit in advance, because I believe, hey, Jen Yates, I believe that people just aren't doing enough to ensure that people do their jobs. They took an oath to the daggone Constitution, right? And I am so tired of playing this political game. I'm really, 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 really tired of it. I'm tired of seeing people. I don't know if people think this is a joke or if they think it's like not serious. Like, I am not sure what people actually think. Thanks, Mother Football. I appreciate that. But it's kind of got me slightly irritated, right? And here's what I can tell you is I do think TikTok is shadowing me again. If you haven't noticed, for a couple of days there, they weren't. It looks like they are now. And so I'm not sure what I think about that, right? Because this is the stuff that really needs to get out, and it's pissing me off again, just ever so slightly. Appreciate it, Donna Ski. So yeah, I'm irritated all the way around. Well, so Sexy Sand, here's the thing. There is no book. That was the other thing that Senator Sheldon uncovered in this entire investigation, that when he asked for what are the normal procedures, right? When you are conducting a background investigation or a supplemental background investigation, what are the step-by-steps? What are the procedures that the FBI goes through? And come to find out, there aren't any that are specific because they are dictated by whoever the requesting agency is. So imagine not having a standard, right? Imagine not having a standard procedure that you would go through and then having that agency be able to customize the standard procedure. Does that make sense? Like, I would assume that whatever a background investigation should be, there should be a minimum, there should be a foundation, there should be a base that we do for every single one of them, right? Got that? So, and then it should be able to be customized in addition to. No one should be able to take anything away. People should be able to add to. And this is just like what I think should be the case, right? Um, so it kind of pisses me off. Um, I'm saying that a lot this morning, aren't I? And that's because I don't. I really. So I got to thinking about something, right? On a real note, let me ask you this. What is going to change in the lives of members of Congress over the next 4 years? Like, seriously speaking, with whatever the Trump administration may or may not do, how will it impact members of Congress, do you think? What? I don't know what TikTok is saying. So give me a second. I'm just going to take, what is it saying? Hey guys, let me restart this live. I'll be right back. Sorry, you guys. Sorry for the YouTube and Facebookers. I needed to redo TikTok right now. Don't you love it? No, not really sometimes, right? It's funny to me because TikTok is probably more sensitive than, not probably, it is more sensitive than Facebook, than YouTube, than X when it comes to things you can and can't do or say. Mila, not so loud, please, okay? All right, so I'm back, folks. We're just going to kind of rock with it and see what happens. I'm not going to put anything in the background because TikTok is being sensitive, super, super, super sensitive. And so I'm just going to let a thing be a thing. Okay. All right. So you say, Janie, you say more money. I don't know whether it will be more money for members of Congress or not. Maybe. But I don't know that any of them are in a tax bracket. Well, some of them are, right? Some of them might be in a tax bracket that Trump's tax cuts might impact them in a positive way. That might be a thing, right? Definitely. But over the course of the next 4 years, when I think about members in Congress and what might negatively impact them with this Trump administration, I can't really think of anything. Yeah, they got a raise. Good morning, Alice. Right, Aline? And again, that kind of bothers me because what's the motivation? What is the motivation for members of Congress to actually do their job? Good morning, Beth Evans. What's up, Christine? So, and do you think that your members of Congress are actually motivated to do the job that they were elected to do? Yeah. I'm not sure that I think so. And then some of the ones that I think are motivated, I honestly think some of them are motivated by their egos. What? For what? Okay, for what? Because you've had a ton this morning already, girl.
I want that.
Okay, get one.
Mommy, bring your phone.
No, you get one. Do you want those? Do you want the chips that are right there, sis?
Tips?
Yeah, they're by your cup. All right. So no, Janie. All right. So here's my thing. Somebody said that you believe the Dems are motivated. Do you really? Do you think that the Democratic senators and members of Congress are actually motivated to do their job? Thanks, Donoski. I appreciate it. Hey, sissy, move. What's up, Red Hot? Good to see you. Mila, move from behind me. Maybe 2 to 3 of them. Who do you think they are? What? Yeah, Titan's on my stand behind me. I see him. Yeah, he'll get down in a minute. Yep, it's Titan, and that's what Mila's doing. Mila is telling on Titan for being on the bookcase behind me. And she said, Tutu, tell Titan get down. So that's what she's saying. Thank you guys for liking and sharing the live, right? So who are the names of the members of Congress that you all feel are actually motivated to do their job? Anybody? You said Whitehall? I think Senator Whitehouse is. Senator Coons, maybe. Hakeem, Jasmine, Summer, maybe a few more. Can we talk about, okay, everybody's saying Jasmine Crockett, AOC. Raskin. What do you all think over there on YouTube and Facebook? Because TikTok are giving me the answers. TikTok people say AOC, Hakeem Jeffries, Jasmine Crockett, Sewell, Ayanna Presley. Somebody else said another one that I missed. Jamie Raskin. So what's that? Have we named like 5 or 6? Is that what we named? 5 or 6? Bernie. Yeah. So we haven't even named 10. We haven't even named 10 members of Congress. Nakima Williams. Oh, Katie Porter. That's who you said. You said lady with the whiteboard. That's Katie Porter. Yeah, Natalie says AOC and Jasmine are great. Janie says Adam Schiff. What's up, Nicole? Oh, Elizabeth Warren. So we might be up to 10 now. We might be up to 10. Yeah, Katie Porter's no longer in Congress because she ran for Senate. Yeah, but so here's my thing. I don't think that everybody that's blue is actually motivated to do the damn job. I just don't. I don't see enough of them. I don't hear enough of them. I only see a select few that the media has chosen to highlight and to give sound bites to and all of that. And here's my thing, even if what you do, even if you're right? So I saw Jasmine Crockett do a whole thing the other day and set them straight about nobody being oppressed. And yeah, John Fetterman. Yeah, right. But so Titan, get down. Son, get down. You're knocking stuff over. Get down. Get down. Down. Thank you. So, oh, I can't do trolls and bullshit this morning. I'm just not. Okay, so let me ask you all a question. Do you all think that AOC and Jasmine are the same? Do you all think that AOC and Jasmine Crockett are the same in terms of like their desires and their work and so forth and so on? Do you think that one is more motivated for the work and change than the other? Okay, so somebody come up on this panel and talk to me about this. Mary Shaw says no, different backgrounds. What's up, Big Hershey? Different motivations, Amy. What do you think the different motivations are in the different paths? Natalie says close, but Jasmine is stronger. You think so? You prefer Jasmine? For those of you all who prefer Jasmine Crockett, somebody tell me why. I really want to kind of so this you're the second person to say Jasmine seems stronger. Can somebody tell me? Donna Ski says I think AOC is more for the people. Big Hershey, you say you think it's her delivery. Veronica says I don't agree. Who wants to come up on the panel and talk this through? So you don't think Valentina, you don't think that AOC is for everybody's rights? Valentina, you don't think that AOC is for everybody's rights?
Whoa.
All right, Maya Reeds, what you got to say?
Hey, so one of the things that I was thinking, just in regards to AOC's approach, she does stories a lot where she asks her constituents questions,
Mhm.
and she was asking people who voted for Trump and voted for her why they did so. And I appreciate the approach where she's literally getting questions from people in her and answering them on live, like in her constituency, and answering them.
And who were you talking about?
AOC.
Right. That's what I thought you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. So I'm just going to tell you my opinion. And some people, listen, don't y'all come for me. I'm just going to say it right now. Don't y'all come for me. Okay. My opinion, and maybe it's because I do know they definitely have different backgrounds and all of that. I believe that Jasmine Crockett is being utilized to keep division between voters and the Democratic Party. I think the way that you, like I said, listen, you have to determine, how do you want to be heard or do you want to be right? You're asking me how? Because I think the media pulls all of the sound bites of her most contested, her most aggressive, her most outspoken, her most owning moments. And I think the media picks those specific moments. And I think the Democratic Party has put her out there too. I think so. In my opinion, I think the Democratic Party put her out there to say the things that Kamala Harris couldn't say while running for office. Yep. Like angry black woman. You got it, Veronica. That's just what I think. I do. I think the Democratic Party is using Jasmine Crockett to say the things that Kamala couldn't say. I think that, and the reason why I think that is going to be that it could be rough for some people is, and if I'm just, y'all know me, we're going to talk about a thing and we're going to talk about it directly, right? So I will just say this, right? There's going to be a difference too, because when Jasmine Crockett delivers something, she is 100% a dark-skinned black woman. And so her tone, her messaging is going to come off, are going to be considered, very, very different. Whether we like it or not, you guys, colorism is a thing, right? It's a thing. It should not be, and it is a thing, right? So y'all have heard me on here, and I've been called aggressive. Oh, well, okay. So let's talk about that, Big Tom. Big Tom, I sent you an invite to come up to the panel because of something that you said. I would like to discuss it with you.
Do you want me to drop down?
Yeah, I mean, I can drop you down. I got you, Maya. Thank you for, I agree with you too. I see AOC interact with her constituents more, especially on social media.
I love that.
Yeah, from what I've seen, AOC tends to be more grassrootsy, if you will, more ordinary people, if you will. And maybe that's because she was a bartender and she knocked on all of her doors and all of that. And Jasmine is a lawyer and so forth and so on, right? So I don't know, but that's just kind of what I think. But I do think that, the party uses certain people and puts them in certain positions for certain things. And I just think that during the election, Jasmine was used to say the things that Kamala Harris could not say. And I don't know that that's a good thing, right?
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. I appreciate it. Thanks, Maya. Okay. So Big Tom, you said something that I want to address. You said you don't see color. You only see a human being. And I'm going to tell you this. That's not a great statement. And I know you said you're at work and you can't come up on the panel, but let me just say this very clearly, right? When you say I don't see color, that is 100% still an issue when it comes to racism. Because if you do not see color, then that means you do not see the all of a human being. There's no way that you consider all of their experiences and the things that make them who they are. Right. And saying that comes from a place of privilege. 100%. And if you pretend like you don't see it, okay, then that means there's something about seeing it that makes you uncomfortable. And what we would ask is that you see all the parts of us, especially the parts of us that make you feel comfortable. Yeah. So, yeah. So these are just some of my thoughts as I think about the work that the Progressive Party has in front of them over the next 4 years. What's up, Sonny? I think that some of the things that the party has in front of them is that I think that they are unified in their votes, right? But it makes me wonder about the rest of it. Hey, Kelly Blue Skies, what's up?
Hey, yeah, somebody in the comments said, "Why do white people say that shit?" The intention is good behind it. I think the intention from the perspective is good in most cases. And I definitely don't agree that it's good. But I don't think that most people are trying to be harmful when they say things like that. I think they're trying to say that they don't hold your color against you when they say that. But I don't agree that they're right. I don't think that that's what you should say. But I don't think that they're intentionally being cruel or intentionally being bad when they say that. It's not intentional, is my point. I don't think that most people are intentionally being disregarding history and all the things that make you who you are by saying that. I think that most people are trying to say that they don't hold that aspect against you.
Right. And I hear that. And I also say at this stage of the game, right? In 2025, if you are someone who would consider yourself to be an ally of sorts, right? Then it is on you to learn at this point the impact over what you might intend.
Oh, I agree with you. No, and again, I don't think that that's a good thing to say. I don't think that they're getting across what they're intending to by saying that.
Right.
But I don't think the intention is to disregard important things about people. In my experience, the intention is not, I am ignoring parts of you because it makes me uncomfortable.
Well, I would never ever expect for that to be the intention, right? That's why people develop cognitive dissonance, right? But I do think that I think that number one, to even fix your mouth to say I don't see color tells me that you do. Because if you didn't see color at all, then there would be nothing to say I don't see.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I completely see that. And I'm also someone who has said that in the past, that I don't see color. I mean, I do. Obviously, everybody who can see does.
Right.
And that's not something that I say anymore because I've grown and learned from it.
Right.
But I think people who do say that have maybe not gotten to that point yet where they realize that that's a bad thing.
Right.
That's not.
And so you know what? And so I'll tell you what that says to me. That tells me you haven't put yourself in enough spaces to be uncomfortable enough to learn. Like it is. And so like,
again, I don't think it's the right thing to say.
I know you don't. And
why do white people say that shit? Well, I don't think that they're intending to be hurtful when they say it.
Big Tom, you just made it worse. Big Tom, you just made it worse.
Oh, I don't know what Big Tom said.
He just said my wife is black.
Oh.
He just tokenized. But he literally just said my wife is black, which is tokenizing. And I don't know, listen, I don't know why we are at 2025 and we still aren't, hold on. Okay, let me be really, really clear. You can sleep with marry and whatever Black women and still have bias and still have prejudice and still have whatever. No, he didn't suggest not to see color. He suggested not to judge by the color of your skin. That's a difference. Somebody said Martin Luther King Jr.
That's what most people mean when they say that. That exact thing is that they're saying, "I don't judge you." Now everybody does. We all have biases, but I think that is the intention behind it. Is that I am not judging you based on your color because I choose not to see it, which is obviously not real. It's not factual. It's not
possible.
It's not possible. Exactly.
Yeah, it's literally, and I hear you when you say that you don't think that it's a bad thing, right? Cheese Hall, I just addressed you. Cheese Hall, MLK did not say don't see color. He said don't let that be all you see, and he said don't judge us by our color. That's what he said. Dear Lord.
I mean, you have to acknowledge that everybody has different experiences based on how they look. That's just a reality of our existence. People have different experiences based on the way they look.
It is not the same thing, Cheese Hall. It is not the same thing at all in any way, shape, or form. It's nowhere close to being the same thing. Saying don't see color at all is not the same thing as saying don't judge me by my color. Okay, so you're not here to like really have a conversation. So yeah. Not doing it. Okay. I hear you. I do. Cheryl, you want to jump in here as well?
Hey there.
Hello.
I actually think the opposite. I think it's quite often intentional. I think it is a way to say, I'm not racist. I think it is another way to steer the conversation away from something that makes them uncomfortable because they don't want to talk about race. I think it's another way for them to say, them, I include me, I had to learn, and a way to say it's not always about race when race is always part of everything. I think the opposite. I think it's something they definitely have learned and it has worked for them. And I think it's intentional, whether they are doing it subconsciously or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. I got it. I think, I do think that part of it is, hey, I'm not one of them. Yep.
It's to
It's
separate them and to make them feel more comfortable.
Masani.
And that's the thing is we shouldn't be making ourselves feel comfortable. We should be sitting in it because it's not comfortable for everybody and it's not gonna be.
Yeah. Masani, I was about to say the same thing. It is the same thing as a blue bracelet. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Ryan Tomlinson, I'm going to ask you to join the panel, to be part of the conversation. That's what I'm going to ask you to do. So, Valerie, you want to jump in here? Cheryl, you can stay up if you want, or if you want me to drop you, let me know.
You can drop me.
Okay. Appreciate you.
Share.
Yep. Appreciate you. All right. So, Valerie, you want to jump in here? Valerie. Probably didn't mean to request that. All right. Superstar, what you got?
Hi.
Hello.
I think it's whenever race issues come up, somebody always jumps on to apologize for people being ignorant, and that really just bugs me. I mean, we don't do that with anybody else. We don't go, well, I didn't know that was sexual harassment. I didn't know that was inappropriate with children. I don't understand why all of a sudden we're clueless to the fact that these things happen and that it's not okay to say anymore.
Right.
I think people need to really look into themselves when they feel they need to jump up and apologize for somebody else's racism.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying is that, and maybe it's because I'm already feeling like a little today. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's it. Cause I'm already a little irritated today. by Congress and kind of where we are with things. And to be honest, I'm frustrated with some content creators and yeah, it's a take no shit kind of day. I'm really frustrated. I hate it when that light is on and I wear my glasses, so I'm just going to take them back off and move this over here. Okay, so I'm a little frustrated with Congress. I'm frustrated with the lack of spine that I see in folks not taking this serious. I'm frustrated with content creators that still just want to do rage bait and argue. And I went to go into this live yesterday. I was just scrolling, which is a rare thing for me, right? And I'm hearing this live and I'm listening to people on the panel, and they are literally these are the things that they are saying to each other. I mean, you know what? You're just missing the point, you fucking idiot. You're just stupid. And I'm like, can you tell me how in the ever loving hell that is going to benefit a soul? How is that going to benefit us? I'm at this point now where I'm frustrated with people acting like we have time for bullshit. We don't. We don't have time for it.
I'm the same, but right now I've been learning a little bit more about race and just the willful ignorance of it, and the fact that, I mean, I was on a live the other day and I said I wish that they would have videos like they do for harassment and in the offices. Videos here are where you know, you get told this is what racism is, that's what racism is, and they can know and identify it, and they have no other excuse. But it's part of white supremacy to go and apologize for somebody else's ignorance who never apologized in the first place.
Yeah.
And, exactly. So.
Yeah, and
thank you.
So that's part of what I'm saying too. So it really gets to me at this point where I feel like there are enough spaces and enough places out there and enough information to where people can find what they need to know, right? And let me say this too. When you say you wish that that's what they had, listen, those spaces won't exist. And I don't think that they will exist for sexual harassment anymore as companies continue to get rid of their DEI. For people who do not get it, DEI also includes women. It also includes women. I don't know why people seem to not get that. When you read the Trump GOP platform and it says they want to remove gender and they want to remove whatever, like that includes women. When they talk about, it includes people with disabilities. It includes everybody that is not white, cis, hetero, and male. That's who it includes. And so I'm not sure why people, don't get me wrong, from a political perspective, right? They're using DEI as a modern day dog whistle for, for the N-word. Of course they are, right? But that's not all that the reality is those words include so much more than just that. But the reality is that Black and brown people get hurt the most and the fastest. That's the reality of that conversation. But it just and it's funny how we started out talking about do we actually believe, number one, what's going to change in the lives of our members of Congress over the next 4 years? If regardless what Trump does, very little. Their lives are not really going to be negatively changed by whatever Trump may or may not do. It's us. And so then I go, okay, so how many people are motivated to actually do the work that needs to be done in Congress right now? Yeah. Oh, here, get a white. She was eating some damn Doritos and she got nacho cheese all over her hands. She like this, Tutu, my hands. Hold on. Sis, I put the baby wipes in the bathroom. Go get the wipes so I can wipe your fingers.
Let me just be clear. I'll drop my hand. I wasn't apologizing.
Oh, I know you weren't.
And I was not excusing them at all. Somebody asked why. I was giving an explanation from my perspective and my experience. Now, yes, I absolutely agree that there's willful ignorance.
Yeah.
I also agree that people need to step up their game. It's nobody's responsibility to teach them. And I will only apologize for myself and my mistakes. And admittedly, that is something that I have said in the past, and I have grown and learned from it. But
Yeah.
I'm absolutely not apologizing for anybody else's failure to grow.
Yeah, no. So for those of you guys that might be new in this space, Kelly's here all the time. And I think was just offering a perspective, not at all apologizing for the comments of anybody else. Right.
Yeah,
Um,
I just wanted to make that clear. I'm not apologizing. I'm not sympathetic to anybody.
yeah. Yeah. Got it. Appreciate it. What, sis? They're in the floor, sis. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up a couple of other folks here as well, but as we kind of go through this, so let me I think I don't remember the order that I pulled people up in, so I'm gonna go from I'll hit Mary Shaw and then CLT Melanin and then Grandma.
Okay.
Mary Shaw.
Hey, good morning, Danny. How you doing?
I am well. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to chime in terms of what you said about it's all about the experience that you have sometimes that brings you to the place of enlightenment, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I was married to a black man for 35 years, and there were things I found out when I moved to Arkansas that I had no idea about. Like when we went to look for his parents' graves, and all of the marker there was a stake and a piece of paper. My heart, I just cried. I cried.
Yeah.
And when I married a white man here 5 years ago, and he took me to the cemetery in his hometown, it's still segregated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
My eyes are still being opened every single day. When a nurse stands next to me the day President Biden Barack Obama was elected and says to me, she's white, and says, why are all the black nurses so crying and having such a time? I said, don't you understand anything?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But this is why, again, but so everything that you're saying is exactly why we say it is necessary to see color. It's necessary.
Yes.
It's necessary
Exactly.
because without it, you don't understand anything else. And the same way it's necessary to see color, it's necessary to see differences in ableism. It's necessary to see the differences when it comes to ageism. Like it's necessary to see all the things so that we are able to have compassion for each other, to be authentic with each other, to have some sort of glimpse or even stoke the curiosity about each other, right? Because if I don't see it, then I'm not gonna even attempt to learn about it. So
But you have to be open to learning about it. You can't just walk away from it and say, wait a minute. I'm just going to tell one little story and then I'm done.
okay.
My unit was on the bottom floor of a large hospital-based outpatient center. So whenever anything happened outside, we got called out. And one day they called us out, and it was my turn to go, and there was a van out there. And the manager came out with me, who was also white, and we walked in, and the van is full of black people from, the driver said, the country, and some of them are challenged, some of them are very poor looking, and one of them's having a seizure on the floor of the van.
Holy jeez.
And I say, and the manager says, call security. I said, call security, call 911. What is wrong with you?
Right.
But later I went back to her and said, why did you want to call security? There was nothing in that van that could have possibly hurt you.
Yeah.
Or was a threat to you. And she said, I don't know. I just have never been in a situation like that before. I said, they're just people.
Right.
Sick people. So I think it's important to go back and address things with people when you see it. She goes, yeah, okay. I said, we're nurses. That's what we do. It doesn't matter. So,
and the thing that
moving to the South has given me a broader view of so many things.
I will say this too, the thing that makes what you just said so impactful and so effective, Mary Shaw, is that you said it as one white woman to another, as one nurse to another, right? And so I keep saying this, it is necessary for us to speak within our groups to each other when we see those prejudices and those biases that happen. So for me, if I see someone who is black and brown and they're saying something that is homophobic or ageist or transphobe or whatever, it is my responsibility to address that thing within them because they're within my group. And if we all do that, then we will grow and be so much further, so much faster. So appreciate you, Mary.
Exactly. Or,
Yeah.
I love you too. Bye.
All right. Bye. All right. CLT Melanin, you want to hop in here?
So when it comes to these subjects, or in particular when it comes to talking about race, it's like there's no going around it. I mean, being a black woman, there's no going around it. Because we experience it every day. I'm down south, so I'm born and raised down south. So it's just like it's there. But sometimes it looks. I think it's ask if you are not around it, asking people what are their experiences like, or how does my perception affect you, right? Like how I perceive race affect you? Because I mean, at the end of the day, there are going to have to be some people, you know, who are white too, who are going to have to have conversations, like you said, within their groups, because you have a better likelihood of getting through to them than
we do. 100%. Yeah.
They're gonna be like, well, who are you? And who are you? And you can't tell me what to do.
But that's human nature. We listen to people who are like us.
I just couldn't bear it. Yeah. So it's that's why I no longer. I'm like, we're in the digital age. If you can go on TikTok and learn how to cook a recipe, I'm sorry, there's no reason why you can't go and learn about racism online and learn about how it affects people around you, or you know, black and brown people. It's no excuse. I feel like you said, I find that the willful ignorance is not an excuse.
Right.
Some people are going to be in denial until, you know, they have those black grandbabies, and then, you know, all of a sudden the game changes. It's like, oh, wait a minute, this is a little bit different, and they see the treatment. And it takes them having a family member or a child or, you know, a grandbaby. And it's just like, oh, wow. Like, this is real. This is actually a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
you don't feel it till it impacts you directly.
And people don't realize, you know, people got mad at me when people were like, well, you know, my girlfriend's black and I said, listen, slave owners had black women they dated. I don't know. Like, do y'all get it? Like, they had biracial children and still was like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no worry, Priscilla. I got you. You can come back though. And so this is the thing. What we have to understand is that it doesn't, those internal or those intimate relationships don't change how you see the rest of the world. We all are able to get past differences once we establish relationship, but how I see one person isn't how I see that entire demographic.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And let me just go ahead and tell you right now, can I just tell y'all one of my biases and my prejudices? I can go ahead and tell you right now, being from down south, coming from an area that is 96% white, that is the like 99.9% Christian, and the same thing in terms of Republican / Trumpism now, right? If I see you and you look like home, or you sound like home, if I hear you and you talk like this, and this is my first time that I'm meeting you, I am gonna automatically have my guard up because I've already experienced all of that. You know what I mean? And now once we talk for a minute and I figure out that you ain't that, that's cool, right? But I'm automatically going to start from that place because I've already experienced so much negativity from that place. I've already experienced all the words that you could think of to call, right? And so that's okay. So here's the difference. That is a prejudice. That is a prejudgment before I get to know somebody, right? That's a prejudgment. Now, that's not the same thing as a bigot, and it's definitely not the same thing as racism, right? And we talk about the differences between these three things all the time. And for those of you guys who've been on my lives, who is the social justice educator that I tell everybody that they should go read on her website? Her name is Debbie Irving. That's her name. and she's fantastic. And she does a great job of explaining the differences between those three things, because they are something completely different. So yeah, 100%. And y'all don't have to like drop off the panel or whatever, because I don't have a ton of people just requesting up. So if you want to stay and keep engaging in the conversation, you can do that. If you can't do that and you want to just drop down, her name is Debbie Irving. One of my favorite little short blog posts that she has, it tells you the difference between prejudice, bigotry, and racism. And the difference between the three is prejudice is a prejudgment from someone before you get to know them, know anything about their faith, their beliefs, their anything, right? And everybody has prejudice. Everybody does. You prejudge Asian people, you prejudge Black people, you prejudge white people, you prejudge Hicks, you prejudge Northerners, you prejudge, right? Damn near everybody, because that's the default as a human being, right? That's everybody. But then, right, you prejudge men. I damn sure prejudge men. Yep. But it's not. So here's the difference. It's not bigotry. I'm not bigoted towards men. I don't think all men are horrible and there's no good men, or I don't think that, right? But there's a prejudgment that the bear is safer than you. Why? Because life has shown me repeatedly that the bear is safer than you, right? So that's the prejudgment, but that's different than having the bigotry part. So the bigoted part comes in when there's actually a discriminatory, negative, harmful thought process that goes with it, right? So if you walk around and all the time what's coming out your mouth is men ain't shit, you are a bigot towards men, right? That's what you are. Now, and so bigoted has a more intense, hateful intention towards the person, and it is different from prejudgment, which is prejudice, right? And then the last one is racism. It's the isms, okay? And here's the difference. The ism has to do with a system. And this, Miss Lisa, okay, thanks. So the system has to be involved, right? And so, hey, Jen, good to see you. And so in this country, in the United States of America, the only racial group that has had the power.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but I'm not to you just yet.
On my end.
Yeah, I'm not to you just yet, Lisa. Okay. So in this country, the only group of people to have the power to implement laws and systems and regulations that benefit them, while at the same time implementing laws and regulations that oppress or suppress other people. The only racial group that has been able to do that in this country is white people. That's why you hear Black people saying Black people can't be racist, right? Guess what? The only people that have been able to do that from a sex perspective are men, right? Because women have never had the position to implement their beliefs into an entire system and power structure that uplifts them. And at the same time, Lisa, I'm going to drop you down and just rejoin. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? So that is the difference. The component that makes it an ism is having the power structure. It's having that. Am I making sense to everybody? Does everybody get the difference between those three things? And so I recommend this book most of the times that we have this conversation, and I'm going to recommend it again. Okay. So Blind Spot. It is the hidden biases of good people. Everybody has blind spots. Think about it when you drive your car. I don't care if you're driving a new car, an old car, a black car, a white car, a purple car, a rainbow colored car. It doesn't matter. When you are driving a car, you have a blind spot. There are things that you can't see, and we all have them. You can be the best driver in the world, and guess what? You still have a blind spot. And so this book is all about acknowledging, discovering, and being curious about our blind spots so that we can see them. When we see them, it makes us better. So the way that I think about that is, so if you have a newer car, you know how you can, you know how you set your little side mirror so that when you turn on your signal to get in the other lane, if there's a car in your blind spot, it beeps at you and a little orange light comes on. Y'all know what I'm talking about? On your little drive, on your mirrors. Yeah, know what I'm talking about? Hold on, guys. Okay. So being curious about, becoming aware of, yes. You want what? A biscuit? Oh, a what? Okay, bring it here. Oh, a blanket. Okay, 1 second. So, but that's what becoming aware of your, yeah, she said blanket, Michelle. Well, she's been talking about food. I went straight to biscuit. But here's my thing. That is like becoming aware of and being conscious of and looking for the blind spots is just like turning that blinker on and seeing that red light, right? That orange light, and it beeping at you saying, hey, 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 hey. And that way you can become aware of them and be looking for them. You can become aware and looking for them, right? Let me cover this baby up. 1 second, y'all. You want this blanket, Sissy? Yes. You tired? There you go, baby. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. No worries. No worries, no worries. All right. So, like for me, the reason I love these conversations is because I truly believe that these conversations are a critical part of how we move forward. The podcast is just the Danny Cook Show, Lulu Bell. It's the Danny Cook Show. For those of you who do not know, my podcast launched Saturday. Another episode will be up by Wednesday, and it's pretty much anywhere. So Anthony Greenwald is but this, okay, so listen, in my link tree, there's a Google Drive. In that Google Drive are documentary and book recommendations. This is one of those. This is one of those that's in there. If you all have not been in my link tree, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you get in there. Okay. I highly recommend because there's a ton of information. Thanks, Susie. I appreciate it. And so you can listen to the podcast, folks, on Podbean, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on pretty much all of them at this point. Okay. Oh, thanks, Candy Kiss. I appreciate it. All right. So, let me go to Grandma 7 and then Edith. Yep, Amazon Music / Audible. It's on there too. I got a notification that iHeartRadio approved it. So there's a bunch of places. Yeah, it's there. So, filling up your notepad, you are more than welcome. All right, Grandma 7, it's you. Yep, Spotify too. What you got to add? There you go.
I just wanted to say hi because I've been listening to you for days. I just have you sitting on my end table, and then I'm playing games or whatever. I was so interested in what you had to say about Hexit, and I got a lot out of that. The other thing, got several things I wanted to say. I don't know if you remember me. I'm the one that was lived at Fort Wainwright. Worked at Fort Wainwright, lived at Eielson.
Yep.
Yeah, we talked a long time ago. There are several things you said that really hit me. These lives I have found that have really been affected me. It's affected my sleep. It's affected my mood because they are so hateful. They literally, I go on them, on the Democrat lives, and they want only
Opposition.
And then when they get them, it's like, there's no conversation. And a lot of times it's because the other side comes up with their full chest and wants to get in an argument. And it's just like, I just think that's going to make us more divided than we already are.
Yeah.
and these lives are getting taken down all the time, especially these small lives, because of all this hateful rhetoric. So, anyway, thank you for bringing that up because it makes me feel better, makes me understand that I'm not crazy, that it's bothering me. So,
Mhm.
you are so articulate and say things that are so easy for me to understand.
I love that.
I'm 73 years old. I've never been experienced ageism, and while I've been on this app, I have.
Yep.
Because I don't know that I've met many people as old as I am on this app, and but I'm real curious. I'm retired, and so I got on TikTok just to mess around, and ended up in the lives because I am so driven by politics and I have strong feelings about that.
Yeah.
And the thing about race is, I'm glad you gave the names of books to read and to look at,
Thanks, Matt.
because I have found that when the subject comes up, I feel like I
Thanks
always
for
say the
seeing
wrong thing.
Mhm.
And I think you understand, as a military wife and as a retired civil servant, I definitely have been exposed to all races,
Mhm.
all ethnicity. I can't say that word, but as you get older, I have trouble saying words. But anyway, it was good for me. It was good for my children. We don't. I don't. I know that saying the word "we don't see color" offends people.
Mhm.
I go through my life. My thoughts are, and I just told somebody this the other day. When you look at somebody of color, you don't know what nationalities they really are. Just like you look at me, I'm YT. I thought I was one German all my life. I was told I was German. When I had my 23andMe done, shoot, I'm a Heinz 57. The only difference is I don't have any brown. I don't have any brown.
Yeah.
That's the only difference between me and you. That's
Yeah.
the only difference.
Yeah.
And so, and I also tell this story is that my grandson-in-law, which is my oldest granddaughter, my daughter had her as a teenager. She's 32, and her husband his grandparents were a mixed couple. He was black, she was white, and he had red hair, freckles, so he had a lot of YT in him, right?
Yeah.
And so they had 3 kids, and then his mother became pregnant with him, and the father was blonde, blue-eyed, and so when you look at him, he could pass as YT, right? He does. The subject never comes up. It's not something you talk about. It is what it is.
Right.
I've known him for 17 years, and it was probably at the 12-year mark that it ever came up.
Mhm.
Is when his father passed away, and I went to the funeral, and there's all these black and brown people there. And then like Kayla, who are these people? And that's when she said to me, that his grandpa was black. And I'm like, oh, okay. So when my great granddaughter, who's 8, she's just starting to notice things and ask about things.
Mhm.
I think she's kept things to herself. She went to these family gatherings, and she said to her mom when she got home, she says, "Am I mixed?" Because she didn't know that term. She
Right.
picked that up somewhere,
Yep.
and
Somebody's
she's
introduced her to
blonde.
it.
She's blonde, blue-eyed.
Yeah.
And my granddaughter has fertility issues, and she's wanting to have a second child. And I always say it could be a little brown child.
Mhm.
You just you don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's what I say when I say I try not to use the term "I don't see color" because I don't even the discussion of what do I want to say? Racism is so hard for me because I don't know how to explain it without offending somebody.
Yeah. I get
That's
that.
why reading those books will help me.
Mhm.
And I agree with the whole prejudice thing because there's, if I see someone in a big truck all jacked up, I'm going to get away from that truck.
Yep.
That's a prejudice.
Yep.
It is.
It's a
Yeah.
prejudgment. We all have them. Somebody in the comments asked about Heinz 57. It's the same way of saying mixed. She's using it and in context with regard to herself and the fact that she has a lot of different nationalities within her and ethnicities, it can be used in a derogatory manner by some individuals.
Okay.
But so somebody just asked what it was and they didn't know. Yeah. So
Old-fashioned term.
it is. It's a very it's an old-fashioned term. So but yeah.
Instead of being 100% German, I have a lot of Irish, French, all that other stuff. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
it's kind of like saying it when you get a dog and somebody says, "What kind of dog you have?" Say it's a mutt. It just means that it has different, it's got different, it's a different breeds of dogs,
Right, which is why I said it can be. That's why I said it's been used derogatorily sometimes when referring to Black people. But it just depends on. Yeah.
It's an old-fashioned thing, not knowing any better.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like I've even referred to myself as being a mutt.
Yeah, you did in this conversation, which is why, that's how you said it. You were talking about you. And let me just say this to folks. Listen. So people who were asking me, they were talking about the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump and the things that they say racially, right? And so let me just say this to you all. I have said this 100 times, and I will always say this. I am never, ever, ever, ever surprised when I hear someone who is 80 years old, 75 years old, 70 years old, anybody 70 and up. I'm never surprised if they use language that today we would consider offensive or not appropriate because of the era that they were raised in. I think when you are dealing, and I'm just going to say this, I hope you take this with the respect that it's intended, right? I think when we are dealing with our elders, right, you have to give them grace and you have to automatically think about the intent. Okay. You have to consider the intent through which it is said and the grace for how they grew up. And the fact that even though technology is there, many of them are not as adept at using technology as we are. Right. So I think that that's the thing. And so like I'm biracial, right? My mom is white. My dad was Black. And so, I have an uncle that I adore. And what I love about him is he's 84 years old, maybe just turned 85. And he's so open and wants to learn things. And so when I went to see him last year, he's in Missouri, y'all. Okay. Yeah. And
I know Missouri.
yeah. Or if you're from there, he's from Missouri. Missouri, right? And so this is the thing. So give me 1 second. Let me just go ahead and fix this. I am going to do this and that, and then this. Hold on, y'all. And done. So I reported and then blocked. So don't anybody even speak back to that foolishness that was in here. Yeah. So no, I reported them and blocked. Okay. So listen. Okay. So he and I have been talking, right, about different things in different times, and my other uncle too. But so we're talking last year when I went to see him, and he's talking about the gas station that's a couple miles down the road. And it was and it was bought by some Indians, right? And when I say Indians, I mean Western Indians, not Native Americans, right? And he's so frustrated. I go down there to buy my lottery tickets. I can't understand nothing they saying. They need to learn English, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I'll go get your lottery tickets. So we park, right? I go inside, I get the lottery tickets. The dude speaks English just fine. He just has a really heavy accent, right? I get back in the car and my uncle he was like, could you understand him? I said, yeah. I said, but Uncle Rod, I've lived in Atlanta. I've been a lot of places. So I'm used to hearing people with thick accents and whatever. I mean, I used to take my grandbabies to the park and you could hear anything from Russian to Yoruba to to Chinese to a plethora of different languages all within the park, right? And I love it. He was like, well, it just frustrates me. And So we had gone through the drive-thru at Burger King and gotten some food. And his little friend had come out who happens to be Scottish. Now, have you ever heard a Scottish accent, y'all?
Yeah.
It's thick as hell, right?
It is.
It's
It
thick
is.
and you can't understand anything. So we get back to the house and I'm talking to him and I said, "Hey," I said, can I share something with you?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "I just want to make an observation." He was like, "Sure, sis." And I said, "You know, when we went to Burger King today and your friend who's Scottish came outside and he talked with his heavy accent, you know, you were fine with it, right? But when you were talking about the Indian guys down the road that bought your gas station, you said they ought to learn English." I said, "Unc, did you ever notice that no one ever says Irish, Scottish, English people should learn English? They can say mother, and nobody ever tells them they should articulate their words. But when black and brown people speak in their way, right? Y'all, it's always you should learn English." And he literally goes, "Huh, I hadn't thought about that." Right?
Yeah.
The next day he says to me, "Hey sis, you're not mad at me, are you?" "Mad at you about what?" "Mad at you about what?" And then he says, "Well, you know, I didn't." I said, "No." I said, "Listen, I'm never going to be mad at you because we're having a conversation and we are learning together." Like, no, why? No, absolutely not. And he was like, "Well, you know, I didn't mean any harm." "I know you didn't mean harm. I'm sharing with you so that you become aware of the things that you say." We were riding in the van and my grandbaby's in the back, my grandson's in the back. And at that time he was like maybe 4 years old. And my mom was driving the van. Same uncle is in the passenger seat up front. And my mom, this lady went to change lanes and my mom was in her blind spot, right? And so my mom lays on the horn and the woman swerves back over and my uncle, without missing a beat, y'all, says she was Asian and he said the word that starts with a CH. Damn, and it rhymes with ink, right? It rhymes with ink. Okay. And without hesitation, my grandbaby in the back seat said, "I heard that." And my uncle said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Again, generations and all the things, but like the toddler, put him in check. "Heard that." Right?
Yeah.
So again, this is what I said, folks. Would I be surprised if you could find tapes of Joe Biden and Donald Trump both saying racially inappropriate things in the 70s and the 80s? No, I wouldn't. Right? I would not, because of the generation. What matters to me is one of those two men learned how to grow. One of those two men acknowledged the things that they said, admitted where they were wrong, and is working to improve and change that. And the other one is not.
That's right. That's right.
And that's the difference. And the other one is now using new words to do the same thing. Right? And so, yeah, so that's the difference. So, yeah, no, but I appreciate you. And, yeah.
I think it's healthy for me to listen to you. I don't necessarily always have to speak to you.
Right.
But to listen to you, I think that you educate all of us. But I've always been one of these people that I feel like I have to learn something new every day. You know, that's just the way I am.
Mhm.
And not everybody. A lot of people are stagnant and they're fine with being old and just set in their ways. And you know, I think part of it is because I have grandchildren that are all ages. They're from 32 to 12.
Wow.
And there's 6 of them, and then I have a great that's 8. So, but they do keep you in check because, for example, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna go. For example, my granddaughter who went to the University of Iowa, which is a real YT school, and she came home one day and she was complaining about that.
Mhm.
She said, "This is such a racist school." She said, "I had no idea it was so YT." She said, she was shocked. A racist school. She said, "I had no idea it was YT." Is that me?
No, that's
She
Lisa.
said, she was shocked.
Lisa, you got to mute. Okay, go ahead, Grandma.
anyway, she said she couldn't get over that. And so, and then she also said to me,
Lisa, you keep having feedback. Okay.
but anyway, she said, another time she said to me, I said something about her, and she said, you need to understand what people go by. You know, some people go by they, some people go by she or he, and you need to understand that. And so she explained it to me, and her sister, who's 16, is GAY. So anyway, so she's taught me a lot. And the other thing, she just was so mad at me was, I said I wanted to go get O food, using the word O, and she said, Mila, don't say that. That's a
Right.
racist thing to say.
Yeah.
She said, it's Asian. She said, you say Asian. And so she's really put me, you know, she's really good. A lot of it is because of the university she went to and the exposure she was, you know, she has friends that are bi and she has friends that are GAY and, you know, all this stuff. And so she is so liberal, and I lean that way. I mean, I think I'm a moderate, but I definitely lean really left. So, but she wants me to be appropriate. She wants me to not say an inappropriate thing. So she's helped me a lot. She's helped me an awful lot.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it is her education.
Yeah.
She went to college and she found out that this is, you know, you got to respect all people, blah, 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 blah. I could talk forever. But anyway, so I'm gonna let you go, and I'm going to continue to listen to you, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. And again, your ability to articulate things, I think, is going to teach lots of people lots of things.
I hope so.
I want to thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. That's the hope, right? Yeah, that's the hope, is that we all learn good stuff together. So thanks. I appreciate you, Grandma Seven.
Have a good one. Thank
You
you so
too.
much. You can drop me.
All right. All right, Miss Edith.
Hi.
Hello.
Say thank you. Always. And for Grandma, you're not the only 73-year-old on here. Okay, because I'm 72 and I'll be 73 in 2 months. Now, having said that, I'm going to say this is more directed to my Latino friends. Our countries tend to lump people together and have prejudices according to your skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I would just like to tell them that, one, white Americans don't think of us as white. Okay? We're all people of color. Okay? So that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And two, we have so much to thank the American Black community, because the reason that we have most of our rights are because they fought for theirs, and they included everyone of color. So it just aggravates me when I'm in a room full of Latinos and I get stuff like, well, I voted for Trump because I would never vote for a Black person. And I just look at them and I'm astonished.
Yeah.
I really can't believe it. Because if anyone in South America or Central America can tell me that they're completely white, they're crazy. Because even my grandparents, who came from Spain,
Mm-hmm.
Spain was part of the brown
Mm-hmm.
conquistadors.
Yeah.
And they mixed with them.
Yep.
So there is no such thing as 100% Aryan race, as far as I'm concerned. So I just wanted to say that because I think that most of us confuse the shade of our skin for whiteness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it has nothing to do with what we say white people are.
Right.
Okay? And they don't think of us as that.
No.
So just wanted to say that. Love you.
Love you back, Edith. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Bye. So yeah, so folks, I say this all the time. Colorism is a thing. Yeah, colorism is a thing. And it is things within our own communities that cause us to be against each other. Like, I don't know how many times, you hear people talk about dark-skinned women versus light-skinned women, right? Whether I'm being called yellow bone, red bone, whatever, somebody else's bone, right? Somebody always got something to say about, and listen, it depends right now, especially because it's wintertime. Depends on what part of my body you're looking at. I'm a whole bandwidth of different shades because part of me sees sunlight and part of me doesn't, which is crazy, right? Thanks, Peculiar Even. So people forget that this was a thing when we talk about Black and brown people, right? And in the times of slavery, you got to remember that we had house individuals and we had field individuals. And field individuals tended to be darker skin. Those that master thought was beautiful tended to be the lighter skin women that they brought into their homes to be the mammies and for them to grape and have children with and all of those types of things. And so there was always a setup, if you will, within Black and brown people. We were set up to be jealous of each other, to be angry with each other, to be whatever. Because sometimes if you were a master's kid and you were a master's kid by mammy, you got to be in the big house. Sometimes you even got to read a book or two, right? And so, hey, Juneteenth. And so there are lots of things that I think people, and one of the things I want to say this for people, because we touch on a lot of the isms, right? And the phobias. One thing that we don't talk about a lot is about caste. And caste is big within the Indian culture. When we talk about discrimination based on caste, that is a huge thing within their culture. And so we have to address all of it if we're going to address any of it, right? So I just wanted to do that because I want to make sure that we are inclusive in the conversations that we're having about discrimination and prejudice and bigotry and all the things. Okay. So I'm going to go Paul, and then I'm going to go Sandy, and then I'll bring up two more folks. Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, good morning. How you doing?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Sitting here having a cup of coffee, listening to your live here. We got some interesting guests on so far.
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch on something about first I'm going to start with the color blindness, and I'm guilty of this because I was in management in the automotive industry and in the warehousing industry, and I found myself one time in a very peculiar situation because I am Latino, fluent. I am fluent in Spanish.
Okay.
And I approached a group of men in the warehouse speaking to them in Spanish. And to my astonishment, they all looked at me and they said, "We're not Latin American, we're not Mexican." And I was like, whoa, what? And they go, we're Native American, we're Navajo. And wow, that was the one moment when it just like hit me in the face.
Yeah.
How I assumed
because
of their skin color that they were Mexican, Latin, and I just took it upon myself to start talking to them.
Yeah.
And I felt like a little pea at that moment. It was the one moment that really, really kind of like opened my eyes and gave me some introspect. I started to look at the introspective side of me. And then I started reflecting back on my own childhood, how I was raised, because I was raised predominantly in agricultural, northern Colorado, which is basically white Anglo and Mexican American.
Mm-hmm.
And Mexican American, basically, they did all the farm work. They were out there doing all the farm work. And I was raised in a community where it was all Mexican American, and it was called the east side of the tracks. So if you went to the west side of the tracks, it was Anglo American. You know, it was German, Scottish, you name it. Okay.
Yeah.
And being that I wasn't around black people
Mm-hmm.
at all, you know, I never knew what to expect. And I remember saying, just, you know, it goes to show you how when you're young and you're so naive,
Yeah.
during high school and basketball tournaments, we would have to go to Denver. And in Denver, there was like 2 or 3 all black high schools.
Mm.
Okay. And boy, they were good. They won state championship after state championship. And here I am with a group of white boys on the basketball team. You know, and we're just amazed, we're astonished at their athletic ability. And we would say little racist comments.
Yeah.
And I never thought about it, you know, as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just bizarre that as you grow older, I think your filters, I like to use the word filter,
Mm-hmm.
it starts to be, if you understand what filters are, you start to use them better.
Yes.
And you start to understand that you have to sometimes tread lightly around certain people and watch, you know, tone.
Yeah.
And just, you know, and quit assuming. So this book that you're recommending,
Mm-hmm.
Blind Spot,
Yeah.
I think is going to be something that will really, really help me out,
Mm-hmm.
because what I just discussed with you
Mm-hmm.
probably alludes a little bit to blind spot.
Yeah. And just not knowing. So you say filters, I will say lenses, right? So
Yes.
here's the thing. So when we view things, I have the lens of being a woman, right? I have the lens of being a woman of color. If I had more of my glasses, I have the lens of being a grandmother, right? Like if I put it, but here's the thing, the more and more lenses that we put on our face, right? The more it changes what we see on the other end. And you have to, and what we do a lot of times is we compound the things that we see. And so what I practice with is pulling them apart. Okay.
Right.
So if I have one, let me see if I can show you. I call it like the telescope technique, right? So if I have a telescope, let me see if I can, give me 1 second. Give me one. I want to see if I can share this with you guys. Doom, doom, doom. Ha, look at that. It came right up. Go figure, right? Okay, so okay, so bear with me. TikTok, I'm going to turn my phone around so that you guys can see it. Facebook and YouTube, I'm actually going to share my screen with you. So 1 second, and I'm going to share with you what I mean. Yep, and can I find the right document? There it is. Okay. All right. So Facebook folks, you should be able to see what I'm showing you. Okay. TikTokers, here we go. So let me show you. I'm going to flip my camera around. All right. So this is actually something that that I made up when coaching and working with folks, right? Oops. Okay. So listen. So we are at the other end of a telescope, right? And so your eyepiece is the way we believe we should see things. So this is how you think people should be. Okay. And this is how we should see them based on our primary lens. And the primary lens is the label or the role that people or situations have. So you view this is the way you think they should be because they have the label of mom in your life, or because they have the label of dad in your life, or boss in your life, or whatever, right? But here's what happens when light passes through the lens, which light is truth, right? When light passes through the lens, what happens to the light, you guys? What does it do? When it goes, think about a real telescope. It bends. It changes what you see. So when light passes through the lenses of our telescope, it actually bends and it changes what you see on the other end. So in other words, when the truth of who someone is passes through our lens with their label, it creates a story about them. It distorts what we see about them. Got it?
Yes. Yes.
So think about your spouses, your partners, your relationships, your careers, your children. You have an idea of how these people should be based on this primary lens. And then guess what? You have all these other little lenses too, right? You have the lens where this person gave you attention. You have the lens where this person complimented you. You have the lens that this person came through when you needed them. And so this truth about them is changed in a really good way because they had all these good things. But guess what? What if they neglected you? What if they weren't completely honest with you? What if they let you down? What if they exploited your vulnerability? Again, the truth of that person is going through all of these lenses. So it changes what you see. It changes who that person truly is to you.
It
So
conditions you.
yes. And so that gives us a collapsed view of that person. So this is the end of the telescope, you guys, right? So this is the end. This is the end of the telescope. So this is what happened and what you made it mean.
Makes
There's,
sense.
yep. And there's a
It all-
difference.
It all makes perfect sense. And that's the fact that we all go through that lens that you're talking about, that telescope.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna reflect back to my youth when I was like around 7 or 8. And it was the first time a group of us from the east side decided that we were gonna venture across the tracks and go do some Halloween trick-or-treating over on the west side.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all went over there in our costumes. I was a skeleton. I remember that vividly. And we rang a doorbell on the house, and a gentleman opened the door, and he looked down at us, and we said, trick or treat. And then he turns around, and his wife in the background says, honey, who's at the door? He goes, oh, it's just all those little brown kids from the east side. And he just closed the door on our face.
Mm.
And, and we all just stood there. There's like 4 of us. And we all just like looked at each other. And that was the first time we had ever realized that, oh, I guess we're different.
Yeah.
I guess we don't really matter in trick-or-treating.
Right.
Kind of created that conditioning. So going forward, I was very apprehensive about how I conducted myself around them. Now, I'm going to add, I'm very light-skinned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very light-complected. I pass for an Anglo. A lot of people who
White
see me
passing.
think I'm an Anglo. Okay. And I dated a girl in 9th grade for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Anglo girl, and their family loved me till they found out what my last name was. For 2 whole years, mind you, they thought I was an Anglo boy, and so forth, until one day my last name slipped out. And boy, that was the end of that.
Yeah.
It's crazy how I'm 70 years of age, so I do a lot of reflecting, believe me.
Yeah.
I look back at everything in my past, and then I apply it to today with young kids,
Mm-hmm.
And I can see where young kids today, I think utilize filters a lot better. Or what
Yes.
you call lenses better.
Yeah.
Because they're
100%.
more diverse,
Yes.
And I think a lot of it has to do where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
In the inner city, you deal with a diverse population.
Yes.
So it's going to make you more aware and more sensitive,
Mm-hmm.
to others and so forth. As if you're brought up out in the country, you're kind of like in an isolated little world,
Yes.
and that's all you see.
Right. And that's
And
why
that's-
people think that when their children go off to college, they're being indoctrinated, when all they're being is exposed to new things and new people and new cultures and all of that. Right. So, yeah.
And I'm going to add one more thing. The lady that was on just before me, the
Mhm.
Latino lady
Mm-hmm.
that was talking, okay.
Edith.
She's correct. Us Latinos have a problem with shades of color.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like I just touched on it. You probably heard me. I'm lighter skinned.
Yeah.
Okay, so when there's darker skinned Latinos around, usually the tendency is to look down, even in our own culture,
Yeah.
at the darker skinned Latino.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It's so crazy.
It's
And I think it comes from the colonialization.
Yeah, the colonization. It is. I mean, it's what we call colorism. It exists within the it exists within the Black community as well. Yeah.
Yes, and it ties in to the caste system, and the caste system basically puts you into a category
Yep.
of who you should be and where do you rank
Yes.
in terms of the hierarchy.
Yep. Yeah. So
It's crazy, but I don't think a lot of people will take the time to really want to read history, especially if it's history that pertains to them culturally.
right. It's definitely difficult. I'll tell you this. So all of the things, it's funny how much we deal with similar things within different ethnicities and different cultures. It's funny how much of it is still there and exists. So within the Latino community, you all have the same colorism issue that exists within the Black community.
Yes.
And all of those things that are still present. And then you just add the layers, right? Again, they just granted the release of Jack Smith's report. Eileen Cannon just granted the release of Jack Smith's report. So it should be forthcoming shortly. Yay.
Better read that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, we have read all the indictments on my lives, and we've read actually some of the January 6th actual investigation transcripts.
Yes.
So not just the report, but the transcripts where they're actually interviewing people. It's very, very extensive. But anyway, yeah. So see, Tanya says she's not Puerto Rican enough for her family in Puerto Rico. Isn't it crazy? Right. Yeah. So it's interesting. And so to me, these types of conversations where people can be open and people can be vulnerable and people can be authentic about what exists within our communities, and it not coming from a place of judgment, accusation, blame, or any of that. It just is acknowledging what is and having conversations on how we unpack it and how we change things. And that is how we grow and we get better and we move forward. I believe, like, I really do think that's yeah.
It's up to us as individuals to lay that path and to try to open the eyes of other people around us.
Mhm.
I do this a lot with my grandchildren.
Mhm.
Try to educate them as much as possible on,
Yeah.
on the atmosphere of the times.
Mhm.
Okay, without overwhelming them, because there's only a limit to what some young people can have an attention span for.
Yeah.
You really have to really want it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
But you have to tread lightly there, but I think it pays off in the long run.
100%.
And, it's really great listening to you.
Well,
I
thank you.
really enjoy your lives. I'm going to get that book
Awesome.
you showed there.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing some reading.
I love
Thank
it.
you very much for having me on.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you. I appreciate you, Paul. Have a good one.
Mhm.
So
Bye-bye.
I want to share this last little bit for you. So when we get to the end of the telescope, guys, and we have the collapsed view of everything that we see, right? All of our lenses come together, and at the very end of that telescope, we have a collapsed view of what we see. The book that he's referring to is Blind Spot. It's the hidden biases of good people. Okay. And let me just say this. The reason why I love this subtitle is because whenever we start to address the biases or the prejudices within people, the automatic thing is defense, because it's like, oh, I'm not prejudiced. I'm a good person. I'm not this. I'm a good person. Listen, good people have hidden biases, and we do ourselves a favor, and we do the world a favor when we find out what they are and we do the work to address them. Okay. But let me just tell you this. So here's what happens is once you take that collapsed view that you have, right? When you take that collapsed view of what you have, and then you separate that view into two other groups, right? These two other groups, what you end up with is what actually happened and what you made it mean. Okay. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to use a common example that most people can relate to in some form or fashion, and it's cheating. Okay. So the collapsed view is, he cheated on me. He lied to me. He broke our covenant, blah, 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 blah. That's the collapsed view, through the lens of, my spouse, my partner, my wife, my whatever, right? Now, when you separate it, here's the thing. What you actually have over here is what happened, which is this person cheated. And then what's in the other box is what you made it mean. So I'm going to give you an example of what people sometimes make it mean. Sometimes people make it mean, well, what happened is he cheated. So people will make it mean he never really loved me to begin with. Some people will say what happened is he cheated. And some people make it mean he's been cheating this entire time. You get what I'm saying? We take what has happened and we make it mean something. But the great thing about that is once you become aware that you determine what something means to you, you now have power over how it shows up in your life, right? Somebody passes away. What does that mean? It means you're supposed to be sad and you're supposed to grieve and you're supposed to cry and you're supposed to be devastated. You're supposed to whatever. Well, maybe you're not. Maybe your grief looks like celebrating their life. You get to choose what you make it mean. And I've done this several times, and I'm going to do it again for those of you guys on Facebook and YouTube that may have never seen me do it, or those of you who are new on TikTok and you've never seen me do it. I'm going to show you a prime example of what you make something mean. Okay. What's this? What is this, folks? Type in the comments what this is. Peace, two deuces, two fingers, right? A V. You see all the different things this could mean? I'm out. Exactly. Victory. Scissors. I love that, Masani. FU in Italy. Do you see all the different things we're making this one symbol mean? What's really awesome is how we have the ability to make something mean. And now I'm going to circle all the way back around to politics and life and the incoming administration. We get to make it mean what we want it to mean. I choose to not make it mean that the next 4 years of my life are going to be horrible. I don't choose that. I choose to make it mean that we are learning how to dig in and fight for each other, fight for ourselves, all of those things. Like I choose to make it mean that we will all come together because we want something different than what is trying to come in. That's what I choose. And then because that's what I make it mean, I align my actions with that thing. Right? Set your intention first. And on that note, I'll share this with you all. So the kids and I were late, right? So I fed them this morning because they missed breakfast, right? And we were sitting at Burger King because we dropped their mom off for work, and we're eating. And Bella asks, how come Burger King is named Burger King? Like, where did they get that name? And Dominic pipes up, right? And Dominic says, well, it's because they're so famous, right? That they're like the king of burgers. So their name is Burger King. And I said, no, 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 no. Their name came before they were famous. So somebody wanted to be the king of burgers. So they named themselves what they wanted to be before it happened, right? They set that intention. They named it what they wanted it to be, right? And then it happened. And he goes, oh, well, that makes more sense. That makes so much sense. And I said, absolutely. See, there's the difference. When I say that what we say and what we name has power, it does. And this is within politics. This is within our own races, our cultures, our conversations, all of the things. You know what I mean? So I'm going to do Sandy and then Harold. Cindy, you want to jump in here?
Yeah. Hey, Danny.
Hey.
I watched you for, I can't tell you how long. Anyway, I was listening to the conversations on where people were talking about different things and why the cultures are different and how you raise your kids. And the way racism is, you know, somebody's talking in the background, where racism is, it's the way, like I've heard a couple of people say, it's the way they're being raised, and they hear what the grandparents or the great grandparents or whatever have said, you know, so they hear all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I'm 61, so I remember when I was growing up, and I grew up north. I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And there was some stuff going on up there. I can't remember what it was, but I remember my dad. There was the time when Roots came out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know that whole movie.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like,
yeah.
Well, when I grew up, my dad, as we were growing up, my dad had us sit down and watch this movie. And I will tell you, it will open up any child's eyes. Because I was like, looked at my dad, and I think I was probably like 10, 11 years old
Mm-hmm.
when we had watched it, because I can't quite remember when it came out. And I remember it being a series on TV. And my dad was like, this is the way they were treated back then.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it's, you know, and it was a very shocking thing to watch.
Yeah.
But I did the same with my two boys. When they were old enough, and I knew they were old enough to understand, I found the movie, the whole series on CDs, and we sat down and I watched it with my children, my boys, and they both looked at me and said, they really were treated that bad? And I said, yes, they were. And I said, this is why when you come home from school and somebody's saying something nasty and you ask me questions, this is the reason I'm sitting you down to watch this, because this is what you're hearing from those children, the other kids at school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wrong. I don't want to hear you guys talking like this.
Mhm.
And my boys, from the time, they were old enough to really understand, from that point on, they had a different perspective on it
Yeah.
because of the way we watched the movie and it was explained and they actually saw everything that actually happened.
Yeah. So so I said with my grands a few years ago, my grandson and I, we were watching. So there's so again, like in my link tree, I have a Google Doc a Google Drive. In that Google Drive is a list of documentaries and books that I recommend people watch. One of them is a documentary called The Uncomfortable Truth with Loki Mulholland. If you are not familiar with Loki Mulholland, get familiar with him. He's fantastic. White dude. His mother was a huge civil rights activist with MLK and lots of other people. She's a hoot. And but he's going on this, he'd been told this story about his family for a really long time, and he's going on this thing. But so as we're talking about it, and Dominic is listening, and he's like, well, Tutu, like, where were they when they owned these people? And I said, what do you mean? I was like, baby, that was here. That was like here. And he was like, no, but I mean like in America. And I was like, no, baby, this is the United States of America. And he was like, so they owned black people? And I said, yeah. I said, you know how Tutu owns her car? And it's my car, and I have papers that say what my car is, and I can buy it and sell it like however I want to. I can clean it or not clean it. I can, whatever. And he said, yeah. And I said, that's how they owned black and brown people.
Yes.
And his whole face, I cannot tell you what it was like to see my grandson come to the realization that happened in this country. It's why I tell people to watch the movie 13th. It's why I tell people to read the new Jim Crow, because, it is so much more than just what happened during slavery. It is about, what is happening right now. Right. Yeah. So anyway, no, but I appreciate, you kind of chiming in. It is about those things and about how we continue to learn about them, the overt and the covert, so that we can change them, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It does.
Yep.
And people need to learn that society is different than it. I don't even have the words to. It's just frustrating that it has gotten to where it is now.
Yeah.
And I believe it's gotten worse than it has gotten better.
Here's what I think. And I've said this, and I believe it, right? So here's what I think. I think that the civil rights movement, of course, it accomplished some things, right?
Yes.
And here's what I also say. Here's the difference. The civil rights movement made racism socially and politically unacceptable, right? It changed laws. It did not change the hearts and minds of people.
Right.
So as a result of changing the laws, then some people that were around black and brown people now in classrooms and in their neighborhoods and in their grocery stores, and they got to know them, then over time, those people's hearts and minds changed. But in other communities where they weren't around them as much, or there weren't that many more to be around, and there wasn't as much to know and see and learn, then it wasn't. And then some people just simply resented it, right? Y'all, the reason why the Republican Party cares about AB is because Lyndon B. Johnson said, either integrate your churches in your schools or you're going to start paying taxes. That's literally what happened. Listen, when Jerry Falwell was told in 1977, 1978, you have to integrate your churches and your Christian schools, or you are going to have to be taxed. That is when they started talking about AB. They didn't give a damn about AB because it was 5 years after Roe v. Wade. If you are not familiar with all of that, watch the documentary Bad Faith. Please do that, right? It has never been, Natalie, you will see if you watch the documentary Bad Faith, you will see Jerry Falwell stand up in front of his congregation and say, "My, what a good-looking congregation we have in here." And he said, "You notice I didn't say we have a good congregation. I said we have a good-looking congregation," because they were all white. You will see the politicians getting up into the pulpits, preaching from the pulpit. It's very similar to what we have now. When you have Trump speaking in churches, where you have Lauren Boebert, preaching in churches it's all of those things. So I'm just telling you all, you have to understand where all this stuff comes from, because once you know how a thing got here, then you know what it is. You know what it is. So yeah, anyway, go check out my Google Drive and my link tree and make sure that you look at the documentaries and the books that are in there that I recommend that you take a look at. So, but I appreciate you, Sandy.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming up and joining.
I watch you when you come on.
I love it.
Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go to WSB Fashion and then to Tracy really quickly. WSB, I always want to say SWB. But WSB Fashion. Can you unmute? Maybe you didn't mean to tap. I'll drop you down. All right, Tracy, you are up. Yeah, no, I unmuted. Okay, there we go.
I am on your link tree. I am trying to find the letter that you want us to send regarding these confirmations.
Yeah.
And I can't find it.
So,
And I'm looking at my computer.
yeah, hold on. So I didn't do the entire letter. I'll do it. I'll do it as soon as I get off of here. I forgot last night because I was doing the video. So when there is a document called Email Your Representatives, do you see that document?
Let's see. Do I have to go to your Google things for that?
Yeah, it's in my Google Drive. That's where all emails and letters and things like that are.
Emailing your rep. Yep, I saw that.
Okay, and so there's 3 bullet points in it that talks about the Constitution. So those are the 3 major things with regard to the confirmation hearings. But I'll do a sample letter when I get off of here and throw it in there as well.
Okay, there's one other thing I couldn't find. I was trying to navigate to see who was on the committees.
Yep. So if you look in the link tree, there is a link that says U.S. Senate hearings and meetings.
Okay, let's see. I'll start at the top.
Yeah, because it's towards the top. It is the It is. Hold on. That's Kavanaugh, bills, FTC, da 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 da. Okay, it is under the Lee Atwater thing. So go down. How many is it? I don't know. Go down about 10 or 15 places.
U.S. Senate hearings and meetings.
Yep. Click that.
Okay.
When you click that, you're actually on the Senate committee website. And you see how when it says in blue, the name of the committee. So like it says Veterans Affairs, Armed Services, Energy and Natural Resources.
Yes.
So click that. If you click like the Armed Services one, it's going to take you to that committee's website. And then you just click the about and go to their members and you can see who they all are.
So I clicked Armed Services. Okay.
Yep.
and it's giving me all of,
Yeah. So just go to the about section
okay.
and then go to committee members.
So are we only doing the armed services?
No, you're doing all of the committee members for all of the hearings. And then you want to email your committee, your senators, because of the schedule. Like, it's ridiculous that they have the confirmation hearing scheduled 30 minutes apart. 30 minutes is not long enough to do a confirmation hearing for the Secretary of Defense. No, they're not. Amy, every committee is made up. It's bipartisan. Every committee is bipartisan. Every committee. So listen, folks, when you go to the Armed Services Committee and you go to its members on the left-hand side, which is the majority, those are the Republicans. If you look at the right-hand side, the minorities are all Democrats. Every committee is Republican and Democrat. Every committee in Congress is bipartisan.
Because I want to do what you said, and I want to do one email to all of them.
Yeah,
So they
but it's
can
going to be right. But what you want to do is you'll do one email to all of them in that one committee.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. And so you're going to do one email, because listen, the email that you write regarding Pete Hegseth is going to be a little different from the one that you write for Kristen Young, right? It's going to be a little bit different. And so, but what you'll do is you'll write that one email and then you'll put it to, that email, all of the members of that committee will be in your 2-line. Susie, the interview with my mom is on my old podcast, which is The Rantings of Danny. So somebody that was looking at my new podcast went back and looked at my old podcast and heard that interview as well.
So everybody under the majority and everybody under the minority, all of that is going to go in one email.
Yep. And that, yeah, for that particular committee, for that particular nominee.
Okay.
Yep. So one email for every committee, and that email has all of the committee members in it.
Good. Thank you. Because
Okay.
I kept looking at it and I said, I'm not getting it.
Yep.
But I'm sitting in front of my computer, so I see it much bigger. Got it.
Perfect. You got it, sis.
Thank you so much. I'll just wait. Whenever you do letters, I kind of tweak them anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell everybody, if I give you an example letter to send, always make sure that you personalize it and make it your own. Cool. All right, Trace, I appreciate you, sis.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. All right. So folks, listen, we are at the 2-hour mark. Things that you can do that help push the live out is liking the live, sharing the live. All of those things help. If you don't have anybody to share the live with specifically, just click the little arrow button, click that and hit copy link. That counts as a share in the world of TikTok. Interacting with it, making sure that you've hit the red heart up there at the top, and join the team, right? Making sure that you're following. All of those things are things that help the live and help push the live out. So make sure you can do that. So like, even if you aren't gifting, right? Because not everybody can gift, which is fine. Just liking the live, sharing the live, interacting with videos that are on my profile is even helpful, right? All of those things help push me out. So appreciate it. Thanks, Noodles. All right. So I'm going to do Yasha and Julia J really quickly, and then we'll kind of level set and we'll talk about some things. I am refreshing to see when the report is posted. What's up, Yasha? I bet you, Yasha was tapping. You were tapping. Yeah. Did you mean to come up, or were you just tapping?
I think I was just tapping, but I do want to say I do enjoy your podcast. I've not long discovered it, and I keep catching the tail end, and I keep hearing something about a book. What's the name of that book?
This book today that we were talking about is called Blind Spot: The Hidden Biases of Good People.
Okay.
But if you are in my link tree that's on my profile page, there's actually a Google Drive link. And when you go to that Google Drive, there's an entire doc that has documentary and book recommendations for folks.
Okay. And then I wanted to say one thing quickly.
Sure.
I've been blindsided or whatever. I never knew anything about color until about junior high. I really didn't, because my mom looked white, and I didn't know that was a big deal because the doctors and everybody in the 60s was either black or white. The TV was black and white. I didn't know it was a big thing. And I even lived out on TSU's campus with her because that's where she worked. And when Martin Luther King got killed, they had a riot, and we were on curfew. We could only go in or out. We had to be in by 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand what that was. I didn't know who he was. And Stokely Carmichael, I don't know if you know him, but he came to TSU and made a speech, and he was going on about my sister's little afro. That's because we had little nappy hair. We didn't know anything about afro. But even when I got into 6th grade, that's when we left an all-black neighborhood in school and merged and went to a mixed school. I didn't know that. I never knew this thing, black and white. Because like I say, my mama's people, they did descend from a black man, but he was from a rape on a ship when they were bringing him over, and they ended up in North Carolina, and so he looked white. But when I did the DNA, it went back to Nelson Mandela's tribe, Nigeria. She liked the dad, but I was proud of it. But in 6th grade, I even gave a report about Martin Luther King. And I didn't understand why the teachers came up, especially the black ones, said, "We really loved your speech. We really did for that." I never knew really until I got grown. I mean, because I wasn't looking, to me, that's looking for trouble. That people have made trouble that should have been something beautiful. And my children, grandbabies rather, they all biracial, and I love every last one of them, and will step on you if you try to borrow.
And we'll step on you.
I sure will.
Yeah.
And they're precious to me. I love my babies.
Yeah.
But I love people. And I guess that's the difference. Even though my mother looked white and she bragged on the white lady bringing her black man that was free, and they owned slaves here in Tennessee. They got a big sign in Mount Juliet that she had put up. She gave this big speech at UT. Even though we had all that, still, she never talked about race to us. But we knew about that because they did have the hair, the pretty hair and the real light. But I didn't know what the big deal was.
Wow.
I never did. Even we were maybe the second or third family in a white neighborhood. It's only 2 where I live now, black people anyway. But I don't see a difference. I got a Republican that came over and asked me because she put a Trump sign in her yard. I said, "That's your yard. I don't care. You don't know him. He don't know you. Kamala didn't know me or whatever. You are who you are. Do what you want. This is supposed to be a free country. It doesn't bother me." I said, "Your neighbors got the signs up. She hadn't even paid attention. And she's military. But we are the best of friends because we can talk about the differences." She was trying to sway me over. I was trying to show her the truth. So
wow.
It's beyond me. But thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was an accident. God must have wanted me to do this. Because I didn't know I was up there until you said something about y'all should not happen to see my face with a blue thing. I said, "Oh my God."
It's no worries. No problem. No problem at all. I appreciate you.
Have a good day. Be blessed.
All right. You too. All right. Bye-bye. Yeah. So Peculiar Eve, I am the same way. So let me just say this. Okay. So I have acquaintances who are Trump supporters. I don't have friends that are. And that became a thing for me. That is just it's just me being very honest. For me, it's not a difference in politics or policy. It's about a difference in humanity for me. So the people in my life that I consider to be my friends, those people don't support someone who wants to take away my rights or use the hateful race baiting language that Trump and other people in his organization use. But that's for me. All right. I can't determine what anybody else believes or thinks works for them. For me, this is where I get down on it, right? Is that we can't be friends. We can be, listen, I will be respectful to you, right? I will be respectful to you. I will be considerate, right? We can be acquaintances, but you are not my friend. And that's just the difference. We have a difference in humanity. And so everybody has to do what works for them, right? Everybody has to do what works. And I will tell you this, it's different. Here's what I can tell you, having lived both in Tennessee and in Georgia on multiple occasions. I'm going to tell you the difference that I have seen with Black people in the South. Black people in the South who grew up in predominantly communities with a large Black population, Montgomery, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, Augusta, Georgia. Those places, Black people know about and view racial issues and politics very differently than Black people who grew up in the South in communities that are predominantly white. It's just it's a different growing up. It's a different education. It's a different experience. Yeah, it's just different. So that's just personally what I've seen is when you are Black in the South and you live in a place where it is predominantly Black versus predominantly white, it's different because predominantly Black, you have community. Predominantly white, you are very reliant on all of those folks for your livelihood in every single way. You tend to know there's not going to be a bunch of civil rights movements in your little bitty town where, there's only 100 people that are Black in the town of 25,000, right? You're not having civil rights marches and you're not, doing all those different things that you might be doing in Montgomery or Augusta in Alabama. It's very, very different. So yeah, different mindsets, different experiences, 100%. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my TikTok folks to stick around for a second. YouTube and Facebook. You guys tend to keep these things on even after I am done. TikTok doesn't. When I'm live, that it doesn't stay on TikTok. So I don't want it to be so long that people don't tune in or people don't listen. So I'm going to say goodbye for now to TikTok, to YouTube and Facebook. I will be back this evening at about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 or 8:30. Depends on these grandbabies going to bed. But TikTok, you stay here. I'm going to stick here with TikTok. If you're on Facebook or YouTube and you want to continue the conversation, come on over to TikTok. I am the Dani Cook over there on TikTok. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Thanks, Natalie, Lindsay, Susie, Thomas, all you guys. Yeah. So she said, I'm here. Oh no. But I'm going to be back on Facebook and YouTube shortly as well. Okay. I also need to do another video and podcast episode today. So I have a full day. But I appreciate Facebook and YouTube, guys. I will see you all later.